I feel neglected, except when I'm with you. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now from the RNC, Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
So here we are. What a wild week, and it's only Wednesday in Washington. What's the reaction to the president going to the bullpen and replacing a starter?
Well, for those of us who are on board with the president's agenda, this was an excellent choice. Mr. Pompeo is tough. He's firm. As we go into this North Korea meeting, which is crucial, he will be echoing the president's tough talk, not undermining it. And likewise, as we look at the Iran deal and what to do and whether to get out of it or renegotiate it in a way that is tough and better for the free world, Mr. Pompeo understands what a bad deal this is, and he will negotiate aggressively for American interests.
It's tough to believe, and Kayleigh, you make a great point, that you have to be on the president's team, and whether it's, at a radio station or at your job or wherever, the boss makes the calls, right?
That's exactly right. And the president, let's step back, he appreciates disagreement, and he has said that. He likes to see a battle between two ideas play out before him among his advisors, and then the president will go with his gut. But he likes to hear the other side, to his credit. But ultimately, and especially on foreign policy, what the president decides is the end of it. And the public messaging has to be unified, or else someone like Kim Jong-un doesn't take us seriously if our president is talking tough and then our Secretary of State is echoing talking points from the Obama administration. So when the president makes the call, everyone has to be on board with that.
Indeed. So where do we go from here? The president was in California, obviously looking at the wall, getting folks fired up about that. And, they have the folks in California, still trying to figure out that they're part of the United States of America.
Right, exactly. It's really incredible. It's striking to have a state that so openly says, I don't care about the Constitution. I don't care about federal law. We know that the federal government has control over the vast majority, if not all, of immigration. But yet you have California bucking the system, acting unconstitutionally, acting as a liberal, far leftist safe haven. And that's just not the way the United States works. You can't decide to buck federal law, especially on a power like immigration, where the federal government and Congress has the plenary power over it. So, it's lawless. And for the president to call out Governor Brown, he was spot on.
Well, and Kayleigh, this, as we've talked about and others have talked about here at KIDO Talk Radio, this is the difference between the president and former President Obama that, paraphrasing, kind of let people just run amok. And, the supremacy clause is there are federal laws there, and we're seeing the consequences of the Obama administration not enforcing federal laws.
That's exactly right. They didn't enforce federal law. And in fact, they actually overwrote federal law. They wrote out part of the Immigration and Nationality Act when President Obama used what is called prosecutorial discretion, where you're allowed to, say, oh, don't prosecute this person or that person. He used that to essentially grant widespread amnesty. That, again, unconstitutional action. The counterpart to DACA, called DAPA, was struck down by several courts. And DACA was going to be struck down, but President Obama, nevertheless, acted lawlessly, writing over the laws of Congress, which you can't do.
As we continue on, what about Congress? Is Congress getting along with the president?
Yes. Republicans, at least, are on board with the president. Our Democratic counterpart, I can't speak for them. They're just obstructing. They're not acting the way they should be if they want to win a midterm election, because as PA18, this election that's going on, has taught us, the American people are on board with Republican values. And this Democrat, who has posed a pretty tough fight to our Republican candidate, has been pro-Trump, essentially. He's been pro-gun, he's been pro-coal. He's basically been on board with the Trump agenda. And so, Democrats in Congress, we hope that they will look to this example and say, hey, maybe we need to work with the president, because that's the message that voters are sending.
Well, as someone who covered and lived just around Pennsylvania 18, I know the difference between Washington County and Westmoreland County and Allegheny County. It's fascinating that this is such a national attention from the press, considering, unfortunately, Congressman Murphy's district will be blown up. Why do you think there's so much focus on this, Kayleigh?
Well, Democrats are really desperate, and you saw that when President Trump was elected. They came up with this Russia theory that has not quite panned out. So now their hope is midterms, and that is their singular goal, is to topple Trump's majorities. And any little sign they can get to gain momentum or push their agenda forward, they will seize on it. So you're seeing Democrats seize on this PA-18 race as evidence that there's going to be a nationwide wipeout of Republicans. But, I would caution them to suggest that that's the case, because you look at Texas and California and some of the primaries we're seeing play out, and you have far leftist Democrats, way farther left than Conor Lamb, winning some of these and at least posing a strong challenge to establishment Democrats. And the moderate Democrat is kind of extinct. So Conor Lamb is part of what is a dying species of Democrats.
Kayla, you bring up a good point here, and we talk about it at KIDO Talk Radio. The Democrats and the bait and switch. I mean, this guy in Pennsylvania is not the person that has a future in the Democratic Party. And it's funny when you listen to some of the Talking Head show, and I know you monitor them, where they're ripping the Republicans for, not getting along. It's the Democrats that embrace identity politics. It's the Democrats that embrace division. It's the Democrats that want to divide us. And here you have this Conor Lamb guy. Nancy Pelosi's not going to listen to him. Harry Reid, won't give him any benefits from retirement. Chuck Schumer won't take direction from him because they've gone further to the left.
That's exactly right. And this guy, Conor Lamb, will go further to the left. If he wants any hope of being on committees, if he wants any hope of advancing within the Democratic Party. You look at, this tells you all you need to know. First of all, Conor Lamb, as I mentioned, pro-gun, pro-coal, personally pro-life, so essentially a Republican. And then you look at someone like Dianne Feinstein, who's far to the left of Conor Lamb, but nevertheless, her own Democratic Party out in California refuses to endorse her. That is the state of the Democratic Party, that they're so-called moderate Democrats like, Dianne Feinstein can't even win the endorsement of the party. So guys like Conor Lamb, unless he wants to change to our party and put an R behind his name, he doesn't have much of a future in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's an interesting district, the whole southwestern PA vibe. So how do we look going into the midterms?
I think we look good in the Senate, no doubt about it. There are 10 seats up for re-election that Democrats are defending where President Trump won their state by 5 or more. So we can gain seats in the Senate. We need to gain seats in the Senate. The House is tougher. If Conor Lamb wins, they need 23 seats to flip the House. And that's something that we've got to work hard on. And we realize, it's tough to expand your majorities in the first midterm election after a new presidency. Realize what we're up against. We realize we may lose a few seats in the House, but we want to keep that majority. We're fighting hard to do it, and we're encouraged by the amount of money, especially grassroots money that's coming into the RNC, because it indicates enthusiasm for our party. And, we've got to kind of gin up the troops as we approach November, because Republican voters, we can't get lazy, we can't get tired. We have to show up, and we have to vote Republican.
Well, and then you have the speculation, especially in the House, that people would really try and derail the president's first term, the last 2 years of his first term, by launching articles of impeachment and everything else, just to gum up the process to try and make him look bad. Let's go back to the Senate for a minute. How does Montana look from Washington, D.C.? Senator Tester's been there a while. He's been able to co-opt the message. How does Montana look?
Well, we're looking to take back Montana. It's inexcusable that not a single Democrat, voted for tax cuts. It's not what the American people want. It's not. They want bipartisanship. They want us working together, but they don't want lockstep Pelosi and Schumer puppets, and that's what we're seeing. And we are encouraged by what we're seeing out of Montana. We're encouraged that we're going to get a great nominee, and we're going to win back Montana, because we know Montana voters at heart are Republican voters. It's time that they have a senator. You guys have a senator that represents you in Washington.
Kaylee, finally, anything else that we should be looking at on the national horizon back to, whether it's, the midterms or the president's possible historic trip to somewhere to meet with Kim Jong-un? What do you think?
Well, I think that historic trip is something to look at, because as CNN said, which they don't often have kind words for the president, but in the aftermath of the president announcing that meeting, they said if he was able to do this, there's no doubt he would be a great president. So on the foreign policy plane, looking to North Korea, looking to Iran, and unfortunately on the domestic front, we want infrastructure, we want an immigration deal, but again, Democrats are obstructing, and we can't do anything without the vote of 9 Democrats in the Senate. So, there's more excitement, I think, right now on the foreign policy front simply because, we need 9 Democrats and yet we can't even get one.
That is tough. Kayleigh, we appreciate you, and thank you for waking up with us this morning, ma'am.
Anytime. Thanks so much.
All right, there we have it. Kayleigh McEnany from the Republican National Committee giving us the talking points. By the way, as we heard, God rest his soul, Stephen Hawking has died. What was it, 76 years old? Truly an innovator and heroic when you're thinking about someone who battled ALS for so many years and did so much. It is sad that we will miss Stephen Hawking. Is amazing, the guy that told us about the black hole and AI and everything else. Dead. Phone numbers here. Where do we go from here on that one? Yeah, that's a good point there, Kevin. It is a little wet this morning. We do want to remind you, if you miss any part of this program, thanks to Ray Amaya, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com and check out the podcast. We do our very best to get those up there. Actually, Ray puts them up there within an hour after the show. And we would love for you to check those out, share them and the like as we get ready for the political season, of course. We've got the governor's race going on. We've got everything else going on. And if you're in town, hanging out, having a good time, doing your own thing, we appreciate that. We appreciate you being here in the Treasure Valley. This is where we talk about the big issues. If you're here to cheer for Gonzaga, Ohio State, maybe Arizona, maybe Kentucky, welcome to the Treasure Valley. Coming up next, it is going to be the big one. We're talking about, this issue involving the student walkouts, number one, this teacher, some stirring going up in the Preston Middle School about this teacher that allegedly fed a puppy, a allegedly live puppy, to a snapping turtle. You have students trying to save him. You have other people saying he should be gone. We'll get your thoughts and the latest news next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
The Eastern Idaho middle school teacher who allegedly fed a live puppy to a snapping turtle. Turns out the teacher was already under investigation for animal cruelty by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. A petition supporting Robert Crossland, started by students. It already has 1,600 signatures. Franklin County Sheriff's Office did not release the teacher's name, but the petition identified him. Superintendent Mark G. said the incident occurred after school last Wednesday. And while the biology teacher has dozens backing him, some of the parents in Preston are outraged.
It was not a biological specimen. It was a puppy, and it was fed to the snapping turtle alive. It was a sick puppy. That's beside the point. It was probably going to die. That's all beside the point. It's unhumane what they did to that puppy. And that is my outrage.
The teacher remains in the classroom pending the results of the investigation. And in a prepared statement, school district officials asked community members for patience and said the teacher has shown care, effort, and passion on the job for years.
And there we have it. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We're sitting here hanging out, and again, this is a national story. It's embarrassing. And it shows you that apparently this teacher, people must like him because, quite frankly, he's, 1,600 students have decided that they're going to they want to keep him. And what person, what education benefit is there of this? And I love this, these, as we said yesterday, biological specimens. Is that what we call life? Biological specimens? Really? By the way, we appreciate a lot of folks listening on their Kindles and such, and Amazon Alexa. Rich and Carmen just saying, hey, Kevin Miller, we appreciate you covering this story. Well, thank you. We appreciate you listening each and every day. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we continue to get response from this. Kevin, what he did is doing is barbaric. He's teaching inhumanity. Children learn what they live. Desensitization to others, of suffering of others. Names of those on the school board who are protecting should be made public and held accountable. And that is from another young man talking about this. This is really, what type of society do we want to live in? And obviously, you have kids, like these big kids that are going to be protesting today, who are letting their opinions be known. But for any of us, how in the world, and maybe it's different for people that raise wildlife, that raise chickens and they eat them and everything else, and most of us are a little sissified on that. But let's say this teacher did it, okay? And the reason why we have to say allegedly is because, again, we have to cover ourselves legally. And personally, for me, having worked cases in the past, I love to give people the benefit of the doubt. I find that it doesn't happen often. But here you have the situation where apparently this teacher has been and is now being investigated for animal cruelty by the local police department. Here you have the situation where the entire community, the entire state, the Huffington Post, the Drudge Report, by the way, we submitted the story to Drudge, he picked it up, is talking about Preston, Idaho's middle school. If you are an educator, if you are a leader, if you are the principal, if you are the superintendent, you have a choice to make. Do you allow the distraction to continue, or do you suspend the teacher and let cooler heads prevail? Because their inaction, their defense of this alleged act is just stirring people up. Now, they're playing the game thinking that it's just going to go away. I don't think it's going to go away. This show's about opinion. Coming up next, I'd like to hear yours. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If true, should this teacher be fired? That's number one. And congratulations, West Ada, $95 million. The bond was approved. Get ready to pay more in taxes. Canyon County voted down their levies last night. We'll talk a little bit about that. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. 6:25 is our time. Let's go to Jim in Middleton with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. I'm listening to the story unfold and what have you. I have a question. Where did the puppy come from? Did somebody donate it? Did they get it from the pound or what have you? I mean, I just heard that the puppy was sick, and I'm just kind of curious where he derived that. And somebody say, here, feed this to your turtle or what have you.
No, that's a good point. From what we know, that kids have been given extra credit for bringing in animals, according to broadcast reports, to be fed to as animals.
Oh, okay. So
we don't know. Truly, we don't know. That's where we are on this. There's speculation. Maybe somebody donated it. Maybe he got it. I don't know. But I mean, look, Jim, you don't have to have a lot of common sense to think this is the wrong thing to be doing.
Well, Kevin, I'm not debating that.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I was just kind of curious who in their mind brought this puppy to this guy. Did he get it, or did somebody say, here, feed your turtle, my sick puppy? That's another issue in itself. Where did it come from and how to get introduced here? So anyway, I'm sure that you'll share the rest of the story with us, Kevin. So thank you. My wife's not too happy about this either. And she's probably listening now on her way to work. But anyway, you have a good day, and thanks for sharing this with us.
Thank you, Jim. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's go to Gene in Middleton with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Gene. Hello, Gene.
Yes, Kevin?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. I don't think the teacher should just be fired. He should be prosecuted. That snapping turtle's menu does not include live puppies, frogs, snakes, fish, maybe. But that was inhumane and extremely cruel.
Well, what do you make of these people defending him, Gene? 1,600 students.
I think they're crazy. I think they're liberals going awry. We're being taken over. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah. All of a sudden, you've got pedophile priests, and that included infants, and now you're feeding live puppies to snapping turtles. Maybe we should put that teacher in the tank with the snapping turtle for about an hour or two, see how he likes it.
Gene, we appreciate the call. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, the latest on Father Fauché, as Gene alluded to, it is not good for the Boise priest, now disgraced, already accused of child pornography on his computer, hardcore child pornography. So devastating that the hardcore pornography unit of the Boise Police Department did some of the most, indescribable stuff that they have seen. Forshay's bond has been raised to $1 million. He's back in jail, and we will talk about that. We'll also talk about the student protest today. Actually, High School doing something very good that has caught the attention of the Big Fox. And in Nampa High as well, you have people who are demonstrating in support of the Second Amendment. But we are talking about the Sign to Care petition calling for the firing of the science teacher who fed the live puppy to the snapping turtle, allegedly. Look, this story is so barbaric, you think that it would be something that you would read in fiction, but apparently it happened in Preston, Idaho. We'll take more of your calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And blessed to be a part of your day, K. Millie in the morning. Let's go to Rachel Sutherland of Fox News Radio, live from Capitol Hill with the very latest. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
Rex Tillerson, we hardly knew you.
Yeah, that was a short tenure for Secretary of State, although it seems surprising, and in hindsight, maybe not such a surprise, because it appeared that Rex Tillerson and the President Trump really didn't see eye to eye on many issues. The President saying that himself, saying that they didn't agree on the Iran nuclear deal. Certainly with the talks coming up with North Korea, the President says he wants Mike Pompeo in as Secretary of State, the head of the CIA currently. He may face a bit of a battle in the Senate as far as confirmation is concerned, but certainly not as tough of a battle as Gina Haspel, who is the president's pick to lead the CIA next. I mean, she's going to face a really tough climb. Even Senator John McCain has come out and already expressed, his disinterest in having her to lead the agency because of the history of torture during her time there. But I think that the administration would be hard-pressed to find anybody in the CIA with her level of experience and expertise within the agency that doesn't have that kind of baggage.
Indeed. What do you make and what does Washington make of the president just deciding, in a tweet, and of course, I guess, from what we've heard from Secretary Tillerson, who didn't thank the president yesterday during his news conference for the opportunity, that the president just said, no, you can, when you get back, but just, finding out like everyone else did with a tweet.
Yeah, that seems pretty brutal. In fact, I was working on some stories, and I was basically listening to Tillerson yesterday, and just from hearing the audio, I thought, oh, this man's voice, he's going to cry. So he sounded pretty emotional. I would imagine it would be pretty devastating to be Secretary of State and then fired in a tweet. This is someone who was the CEO of ExxonMobil. He certainly didn't need this job, and he didn't ask for the job. It simply just came to him. But at the same time, it's not surprising because this is something that the president seems to do, and that people are oftentimes left in limbo about their futures. I mean, look at the Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We thought from some of the tweets that he was a goner over and over again, and that has not happened. So people just live in limbo. I mean, if you're going to work in the Trump administration, keep your bag packed and under the desk, like they say in the broadcasting world.
Well, maybe it's like the political version of The Apprentice. Maybe
it seems like it.
Maybe the cabinet once a week should come in, and you could have Ivanka and Mike Pence, and he could meet back and forth and decide who's going to stay and who's going to go.
It seems that way, and so no one can say at this point if they take a job with the Trump administration, they can't say they didn't know. I mean, you might still feel for them at the end of the day, but they knew this was a possibility. And Tillerson will be fine. Mike Pompeo will probably ultimately be confirmed, but keep an eye on Gina Haspel and what goes on with the head of the CIA in the future.
Any feedback? I know it's early from the president's trip to California, or I know people are wondering what's going to happen with Pennsylvania 18. At least that's what the cycle's going. But in Capitol Hill, what are people focused on today?
Well, today, really, it's been pretty quiet, but what we'll see today ultimately is this walkout of students are going to come up to Capitol Hill today. So that's going to be something that will be in the headlines, no doubt. So look for that around 11 a.m. Eastern. And as far as the Pennsylvania election, I mean, that one is interesting to watch. We see Connor Lamb there ahead by about 600 ballots, but the absentee ballots have not been counted. That is definitely an interesting race because that is Trump country. It is coal country, the 18th congressional district in Pennsylvania that President Trump won handily in 2016, I believe, by 20 points. So that one is interesting. I don't know how predictive it is, but it's definitely one to watch and see how it ultimately turns out.
Well, and here's the other one on that. I mean, as you've told us many times, Rachel, that district's going away.
It is, yeah. That is going to be redistricted. So it is going to be going away. And this, whoever wins won't be serving, I guess it could be, but it won't be serving for very long. But still, it does take the temperature of at least one place that President Trump won so handily. But you can't really compare that district in western Pennsylvania to someplace in Texas or Utah or even California. It's very, very different.
Yeah, no, I work that district, so I know it quite well. And Congressman Murphy was like an uptight guy, hard to believe what happened to him, But, I mean, you cover these people all the time. Everybody apparently has a secret life.
Apparently, but these days it's getting tougher and tougher to maintain a secret life, I would wager.
I'm just talking about my regular life. I see that my problem is I'd forget which one was which.
Yeah, I can't. I'm just not talented enough to pull that off.
Rachel,
myself.
You and me both. You have a great day, ma'am.
You too.
Rachel Sutherland joining us exclusively here at KIDO Talk Radio. We want to remind you that when you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, you're listening to your home for Fox News on the radio right here in the Treasure Valley. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And before we get back to what's going on in East Idaho, what's going on with this Preston, Idaho teacher, and taking your phone calls, there's a petition to get rid of him. Over 1,000 people have said he's got to go. And then there's a petition for him to stay. Over 1,600 students see the value in a teacher that, again, he hasn't admitted to it, but is being investigated, not only for this incident involving an allegedly a live puppy with a snapping turtle that killed the puppy. You would think that would happen in a third world country, not in the United States of America. And then we have, apparently, but in the past, the police have had complaints about him, so he's under investigation. Why would a school board keep him around? Sometimes, look, the broadcasting business and maybe your business is cruel and heartless. If there's any sniff of a scandal, there's any sniff of anybody being embarrassed, look, you're either suspended or gone. And the type of individuals that really are attracted to broadcasting, they're nice folks, but they don't really have the same responsibility that a teacher does, at least in society's eyes. And with most people that are in entertainment, most people that are in anywhere, there's a morality clause that you sign. That means you can't embarrass the institution. Look, if you're even accused of something in some cases, in my case, you can be fired because public companies, private companies protect themselves. So you can even not even be guilty of something, but they can say, yep, you got to go. You can be on the air for 30 years. So why is it different from someone who has been involved with classroom education? Unless that school board and the people there endorse those practices. The teacher should be suspended pending the results of the investigation. Get him out of that environment. Show the community, show the state of Idaho, heck, show the entire country that you care. Because right now, you're complicit in these alleged acts. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, should students walk out today? And unfortunately, they're going to be walking out in the rain, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But our friend Joy Behar would like to say this to Christians.
It was on Sean Hannity talking about the recent conversation he had with Joy Behar. Take a look.
You and I know that criticism comes with public life. But I felt it was important that I defend the faith of tens of millions of Americans against that kind of slander. And I did so. And, I give Joy Behar a lot of credit. She picked up the phone. She called me. She was very sincere. And she apologized. And one of the things my faith teaches me is grace. Forgive as you've been forgiven.
So does mine, but I'm not as good at it as you.
Well, look, but I said to Joy, of course I forgive you. That's part of my faith experience. But I did encourage her, and I'm still encouraging her, to use the forum of that program or some other public forum to apologize to tens of millions of Americans who were equally offended.
So I think Vice President Pence is right. I was raised to respect everyone's religious faith, and I fell short of that. I sincerely apologize for what I said.
Okay.
And there we have it. Now, remember, what Joy Behar said was that people of Christian faith are mentally deranged. And why do you think that Joy Behar apologized? Because folks that we have on this program, folks like us, from Newsbusters and other places, just got tired of it. And they called ABC and said, look, Clorox, look, blah, blah, blah. Remember, Melanie Morgan yesterday saying the same thing. We're not going to support you. There is no reason to go after somebody's faith. And finally, people of faith said, enough is enough. We are not going to tolerate people that believe in Jesus Christ being called mentally ill, mentally deranged, mentally unhinged by a failed comedian. Right? Thank goodness for that. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll get more of your thoughts on this coming up. Also, the student protests. They're supposed to happen today. Do you endorse your son or daughter leaving the classroom? Is school for learning, or is it for setting a precedent, making amends, social justice, honoring people that were killed? Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. You know, maybe for all these folks coming in, maybe we should double the sales tax. Hey, show your out-of-state ID, and we get some more revenue here to help with our roads. Good morning, Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. If you're visiting from out of town, welcome to the best kept secret in America. We call it the Treasure Valley. Enjoy your time here. If you get a chance, go up to Bogus Basin, go out to the real beauty in the Treasure Valley. Nothing against the capital city, but you're talking Meridian, Nampa, Kuna, all over the place, really. Caldwell, some great ideas, great restaurants. So you can hang out downtown and then spread out. You just don't have to stay in Boise. But we appreciate y'all being here. We talk about the issues that matter to you. Let's go to the phones. Hello, Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Kevin. I commend you for keeping this issue alive about what this teacher's done there in eastern Idaho. You know, I don't think this is an issue that divides along liberal and conservative lines. I think it's more of, are you going to tolerate this kind of stuff? Maybe where's pedo when you need it? Maybe we ought to import a busload or two of them from California to protest at the next school board meeting at that school. This guy ought to be fired. Somehow the idea that he's been a good teacher balances out this act just doesn't hold water in my book. They can trace back some people who've become sociopaths, tortured animals as young people. So this desensitizes students. Now, if they'd probably been dead, it might have been a little less offensive. But the fact you're feeding something live, a puppy live to this turtle, and then giving the kids extra credit, to me that has marks of masochism, and I just don't think it should be tolerated. And it seems like it's become quite a uproar issue in this state right now. Hopefully it'll spread nationwide.
Well, the school board and the administration, you agree with it or you don't. That's really what it is. They can talk about, well, we're going to let the process play out. No, you have to nip it in the bud. And at the very least, this guy should not be teaching right now. He should be removed from the school because everybody associated with Preston Middle School, Preston, Idaho, is being labeled with this guy.
I agree with you. You know, we already have, from past years in Idaho. I remember when I lived in California, and everybody, Idaho, that's a bunch of neo-Nazi nuts that are up in the panhandle. Well, you run those out, that's good. So what do we want to be known as here in this state? I think and it has gone viral because it was on a national news thing on the internet yesterday. So we'll see what happens here, because I think the pressure is going to be put on the school board, this administrator, to do something about this and take them out of the classroom.
Tom, great call. Thank you.
Thank you.
6:55 at KIDO Talk Radio. Traffic and what we call wet snow. Let's go to Rob in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, I was just calling in to say how proud I am of the school I work at regarding this walkout thing. We, of course, have been dealing with this as it's been coming up, and I don't know how much time administrators and stuff have spent in all these different schools worrying about this 17 minutes. And, of course, our education time is important, but we spend the 17 minutes doing a lot of other miscellaneous things here and there. So what my school has done is chose to, offer a way for them to show a moment of silence, for the people that passed away in Florida, and have a choir sing national anthem and stuff during the regular educational day, and not go out of our way anyway to support the walkout and that type of thing. And I think as educators that we're doing a good job in this case of showing people ways that they can actually do something that matter, because along with that, we're encouraging them to do some acts of kindness and trying to teach people that, a walkout protest probably isn't going to really make anything happen. And I personally question on whether most of the kids around even know why they would be walking out. But if we're talking about changing people's patterns of behavior, like treating people better in school during the regular time, then I think we're teaching them that something can be done to help lessen the instances of this violence. It's kind of like the big picture of taking away guns isn't going to stop this from happening. It's mental issues and things like that are problems and reasons that people are shooting up schools. So we need to teach kids and people that more needs to be done. That's the guns and all that stuff is just a surface issue.
Rob, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Quickly to Hank. Hank, we don't have a lot of time, but...
Okay, I'll make my point short and sweet. Suppose I went to a Republican rally or a Tea Party rally. Would the Boise Independent School District be so tolerant? In other words, if they're allowing these students to cut class, they're definitely complicit. And your positions, you stated on the radio that they should be charged with truancy, is absolutely correct. And I think that hanging signs that the Boise Independent School District has done for many years, gun-free zones, is not the answer.
I would agree with you, and I think most of these kids are pawns in this thing today.
Yes, they are, and they're pawns in the school. And this is why we have difficulty solving the problem, because the educators are not focused on sensible solutions.
Hank, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio, brother.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Kevin Miller, good morning.